This is Dave Meltzer with Entrepreneurs, the Playbook, and I have a legend with me. She is my favorite shark on ABC's hit show, Shark Tank, needless to say. An unbelievable motivational speaker, author, entrepreneur, founder of the Corcoran Group, Barbara Corcoran. How are you? Welcome to the Playbook.
I'm doing fine. It's really nice of you to have me over.
Yeah, it's so cool that I never thought the first time I'd get you to be on my podcast, I'd be sitting in my closet. But nonetheless, here
Well,
I
you have a
am.
big ass closet, that's for sure.
It is. I'm actually going to go see you after this is all over because I now have a new business, which is closet, studio, office. It's a sitting room. It's a guest room. We're going to sell these things. They're going to be amazing.
Well, just so you know, I'm out right now. Yeah, out.
Well, you and I have similar journeys, and I really want to see how, as a child, this impact you with the ability not to quit. Every great entrepreneur knows that the biggest ingredient is you must be what you can be. And we both grew up poor, grew up with a lot of kids. Our moms are both, I believe, our true north. My mom to me is everything. She taught me so much, especially about work ethic. I
Mm.
try to describe to my children, I have four, how can I teach you what I learned growing up like that? What,
Give
what
up on
are
that.
some of those ingredients?
Yeah. It's a hard one to do. You know why? Because they can't possibly walk in your shoes by telling them the stories. They got to feel it. They have to have the emotion you had. I'm sure they grew up in a very different world.
Yeah, I'm feeling a little of their world in this closet now, but it's interesting because one of those things about articulating what it was like is really important because I'm looking at your career and being where I was when I went to law school, and so few women were even in law school when I went to law school. And my mom always said, you could either be a teacher or a nurse. My mom, the saddest story for my mom to me is she went to Ohio State University and said, what really aggravates me, Dave, is that all the boys that cheated on me in high school and college were so successful. And
Oh,
I'm a second grade teacher, and they were all cheating off of me. And
oh.
my business partner is Warren Moon, the Hall of Fame quarterback. He can never describe what it was like when I tell them they didn't let him play in the NFL because he was black. And I try to tell my three daughters, women weren't allowed to do things. And it was unspoken and spoken. What were some of the biggest challenges as you paved the road for my girls to have an opportunity where today over 50% of entrepreneurs at Junior Achievement, where I'm the chief chancellor, are women, which makes my heart sing.
Mhm. Well, you had an advantage that you share with me, and I hope you share that with your kids as well, which is you came from a position of having nothing to lose and nowhere to go but up. That's a freedom card. You could have done not well, and your parents wouldn't have thought that you were a horrible son. You could have struggled with success and settled for less, and chances are good that everybody would have been okay with it. What our kids have growing up with a lot of privilege is they have expectation. It's a killer. It can really take a child and thwart their own ambition because it's very hard for them to compete versus what they have to start and where they have to go versus what you had to start and what you did with it. So I'm careful on my messaging with my kids. They can't be walking in your shoes, but certainly, and I don't even know, did I just answer your question? I don't even think I did I?
You did. You touched on. I would love to know the challenges, though, as a woman as well,
It was a
beyond
woman.
where we came from. It's unspoken today. Like, it's hard to describe to my girls the
Hmm.
challenges. It was the unspoken things that nobody said. Like my mom saying, as a woman, you just were a teacher or a nurse.
Yeah.
No one ever told her she had to be that, but it was almost expected during that time.
Well, I don't think girls grew up thinking, I'm going to be the boss. A boss was a male term. And I too thought that was the case because my dad's bosses were all men. Everyone I worked for my 22 jobs before I started my business, were all guys. I never worked for a woman. And so my imaging of taking charge of your life was kind of communicated that that was what the guys did, not what the girls did. And the female models, as powerful as they were, my mom, she could have she could have put IBM out of business with her willpower and her brains and her steadfastness and her ability to solve a problem like that. She was phenomenal. but she aspired to be a great mom. Okay, so it's aspiring that was so vastly different then versus now. Women feel like they could be handed the keys and they have just as much right to use them and open that door and make something of themselves. That's it. Okay. So, but in my day, and even to today, with many people I work with, the truth is that I don't even think of myself as a female. I never did. I would just think of myself as a competitor. So when I walked into New York City and I found that every large company in the city that was a powerhouse was owned by a guy who ran it, and he got it from his father, who got it from his father, and I was like a kid from Edgewater, New Jersey, with a staff of one, namely me, I wasn't taken seriously, but I'll tell you what advantage I had there is I wasn't taken seriously. I remember feeling insulted by men, either ignored or dismissed or not even noticed that I was in the room. And I would say to myself quietly, because I'm vicious, I would say, I'll come back and I'll bite you in the ass. That's what I'm going to do. So I had that fever in me to take the insult, but it burnt in my chest. And I would come back and get even by being competitive and out competing them. Whatever I had to do to show them, because of my insecurity, prove to them that I shouldn't have even cared about what they thought, but nonetheless prove to them that I was going to come back and show them that I'm just as smart as you and I could do it better than you've been doing it, right? And I had the work ethic of nothing to lose, so I wasn't taking chances. Those guys in the business where I refused to see myself as a female had such a disadvantage to think that they were on easy street. They went to sleep at the wheel. I love somebody who is cocky. I'm not just saying guys. I'm saying anybody in business who's cocky. I know they're coming down. You can't be cocky and stay on top, right? You know that. I know that. So I just out hustled. But I think the only advantage I took of being a female, quite honestly, consciously, is I would wear a short red skirt among men in navy blue suits every time, and they noticed my legs. And I would flirt with the guys, hey, handsome, hey, big boy, and they would love it. You couldn't pull that crap off on a woman. She wouldn't fall for it, right? And so I used my female charm whenever I had to open a door, but that's where it ended.
I love that. And one of the other things that's extraordinary about you is the ability to imagine things that haven't happened before. Meaning, I find so many people limit themselves, and I have done it in my life growing up with so little that at first it was at 5 years old, I'm going to be a millionaire and I'm going to buy my mom a house, a car, and retire for $1 million. And then, making over $100 million into my early 30s, I was lost. I was lost because I never fathomed it. And then I couldn't imagine people would say, you're going to be a billionaire by the time you're 40. And I just didn't see it. And then I did self-sabotage and ended up, losing it all and making it all back.
Oh no, what a shame, shame, shame.
Blessing. I learned the light, love, and lessons of, and I'll tell you the lesson because I think I'd love your perspective on it. The difference in my life is I was very philanthropic, believed that everything I gave, I would get, right? If you give, you get back. And then I switched my philosophy after going BK that I'm going to receive so I can give. Not give so I can receive, but I actually shifted the paradigm of my energy that I have the capability, an extraordinary capability to gain wealth. And this time I was going to receive it to come through me for others. What was your motivation to be able to continue to feel calm and confident with it's extraordinary amount of dollars that you made with no case history or situational knowledge. It's not like you could go to your dad and say, hey, I just made all this money. What should I take this off or should I?
Yeah. Well, people don't mostly listen to their parents, no matter where they come from. It's from my experience. I sure didn't listen to mine when I was younger. I don't think I ever for a moment thought I would ever make any money. For me, my turn on was seeing how far I could go with building a big organization. For me, I was replicating my mother's 10 kids in New York City instead of New Jersey in an office versus a little 2-bedroom house. And I would jam them in as tight as my mother jammed us in our bedrooms, that's for sure. So for me, I was just trying to see how far I could go, knowing the whole time, if the shit hit the fan, that I could always go back and be a waitress again and make more tips than the other girls because I knew how to charm people and I knew how to hustle that counter, right? So that's how it was. I don't think I think what kept me on the straight and narrow in the money sense, and that I never wrestled with money or had a problem with money, is because I never kept it in my hand very long. The minute I saw it was coming in, receivables 3 months out, I already knew how I was going to spend it. I never got to keep any in my hand until I sold my business. And then in selling the business, that was a come up in stance. Is that the word I'm groping for here? Where I had to like size up my life, and it was the quietness of all of a sudden, whoa, I have 66 million in cash in my checking account. Like, what do I do with that? And that was the first time in my life I felt a little lost. And so what I did was keep it in my checking account, no interest bearing, for a year, because I didn't want to lose it. And I was afraid everybody hustling me to invest it I didn't trust. And then finally brought it out and started slowly investing in what I know best, real estate. And I got my feet back under me again. But on the money side, it was not front and forward in any regard, except as a means to see how far I could go.
And it's interesting because you really didn't have my nemesis was my ego, right? I was buying things that I didn't need, trying to impress people I didn't even like. That was my terrible thing. I still had the chip on my shoulder that I wanted to prove to everyone how successful I could be by driving a certain car or owning a golf course, or just doing really dumb things and surrounding myself with dumb people.
Give yourself a break. That's not so dumb. Everybody does that.
Yeah, well,
especially if you're a guy.
Yeah, and you seem like a master of the ego. You mastered the flirt and convert. The line of expectation, but to do that, human nature really well. And I can see that on the show when you're investing, you're looking at the dynamic, knowing it's a TV show, but you're really investing in human nature and knowing how this emotional intelligence. In fact, I noticed on your website, you actually have like an entrepreneur IQ test as well.
It's pretty reliable. I want you to know. Yeah.
Well, good, because it says I'm a decent entrepreneur. Moreover,
it would be embarrassing if you said anything else.
Your ego, though, like, do you still practice, ending fear, practice, understanding and identify the ego and utilizing it to, your advantage and taking, certain opportunities, knowing other people's ego and weakness in there?
No, I really don't think so. I have to give that some thought. I don't think I'm self-reflective like that, honestly. I'm so busy working and moving to the next thing that I don't really reflect. I know you're supposed to, but I don't.
I love it.
No, I'm just moving along really, really fast. I'm like, what could I do next? But so far as people smart goes, that I am. And I think that comes from being such a loser in school. You can't learn empathy in reading people unless you've walked in someone's shoes. I think it's not like something you're born with. And when you're a really, really bad student that doesn't fit in, you learn how to hide. You learn how to not get called on. I mean, I had it down to perfection, how to look, what to do with my hands. Yeah. So you learn to like dance around so you don't get embarrassed. And what that does for you is when you see someone who's struggling in anything, and if you're going to be hiring people, you're going to get people who struggle. You can feel their struggle and get right in their shoes, and you can get on their page. Because you were a loser, they're a loser, and if you say you could be a winner, they're going to believe you. You're speaking their language. And I really credit that to learning disabilities. I don't think I meet anyone who has ever had a childhood severe difference in learning who didn't wind up being extremely people smart. They can read people because they were very much in that circumstance as a kid. I think it's the benefit you get.
Yeah, it's amazing how you find the light in some of the challenges that we have. The other thing I was interested
in hindsight, by the way, only in hindsight. Don't give me another challenge. I don't want any crap hitting my face for a long time,
I love that. Well, one of the other things I'm interested in is time efficiency. So most people that are hyper successful like you really are efficient and productive with their time. And you seem like you've said several times during the interview, I don't have time for that. You seem very focused on time. What are some of the best time tips that you've learned over the years to be more productive?
Well, I think you have to know what's important, not necessarily what you want to get done. I love to make a call and be friendly. I love to write thank you notes. I like to be clever. I like to be creative. These are all my special things that I think tap into my gift. But over the years, I've learned instead to make the tough phone call first, get out of the way. You know, I don't want to do that. I've stalled. Let me just get it the damn over with, get it out of the way. I've learned to confront what I'm afraid to do. Just get it out of the way. It's never as bad. Wait 2-3 days on stalling, procrastinating, and the thing only gets worse. So I've learned to burp it out, get it going. And I've also learned to work off lists. I mean, who doesn't work off a list? It's a little more difficult for me, honestly, transitioning to online lists. I love crossing out with my pen, or ripping my Post-it off my refrigerator, got that, tear it up in little pieces. But working a list and labeling everything on the list of A, B, or C, A being what's going to be the biggest change or best potential for my business or whatever I'm trying to accomplish for my kids, my home. One of the A's. There's very few A's, then the B's, and then the C's. Who cares if they ever happen? So I'm very good at categorizing and listing. And that's not sophisticated, I'm sure. But most people get a lot done are working off some form of a list, I find.
Yeah, I'm a OCD list taker as well.
OCD, is that what it's called?
That's what I call it for myself. So obsessive about what I'm getting done. And I was feeling passionate when you're like this. I felt it because I love doing that. Just check. I have a printed calendar that I just check off when I'm done. Last question. Everyone doesn't look at this, and I know you're I think a little different in that you don't see yourself as looking introspectively, but you do have a relationship with money. And I find that one of the greatest growth potentials I've had in my life is I shifted that relationship. I really identified what is my relationship with this energy, with money. And once I healed it, I utilized my capabilities to an exponential rate of what it is. Do you have a relationship with money or advice about what your relationship with money is?
Well, I don't know if I have a relationship, but I sure know how I like to spend it. Okay. I like to make a lot of money because it's a report card of sorts that what I'm doing is valuable. That's probably not true, but that's how I look at it. I like to make money because to me, money represents freedom. Even if I choose not to spend, I'm not a big spender. Well, most ways, everybody's got their one thing, right? Mine is gardens. Okay. But I like to spend money. And I like to have it to know I could spend it, whether I spend it or not. And I like to share it, believe it or not through charity, honestly. My charities have 9 siblings, 27 nieces and nephews, all have to go to college. That's how I utilize my money to help my family. But in the end, I just want to be able to say, yes, I'll buy that for you. Yes, I can help you. Yes, I can. Yes. And it's very self-confirming. And so for me, I think I sometimes think, what if all this crap hit the fan? Like when the stock market crashed, I was like, I better look at my accounts right here. And the real estate, I better check that real estate right now. My only concern in my mind was not that I'd move to a smaller home or give up a country home or a beach or whatever. That wasn't it. I was saying, what if I can't say yes? I would feel like somebody bound me up and tied my hands. I would hate that. So for me, it's about being able to say yes. That's it. Yes, yes,
And that makes a wonderful world to live in, a world of abundance where we can say yes to everything that's important to us. And you are so important to so many people, and we appreciate your success. Thank you for being such an icon for especially my 3 daughters. We watch you all the time. I always say, if young people can't see right where they're going, it's so important for especially young women to see where you are so they can surpass that and they can dream past and know the possibilities are probabilities for them. And I really appreciate you taking the time to show us your playbook to success, Barbara. You are a true entrepreneur, a legend, an inspiration to all. Thank you so much for joining me.
David, in your next life, you must be a minister, a priest, or a rabbi, or something along the religious line. You have the best kind of manner.
My brother who went to Harvard's a rabbi, so
really?
He's already taking it over. But thank you. I really appreciate that.
Pleasure.
In totality, this is Dave Meltzer with Entrepreneurs, the Playbook.